Hey guys, this is Stephen Lund coming at you with another Blender tutorial. In this tutorial I'll be creating this snowy mountain landscape here you see using Blender and trying to go low poly but keeping as much detail as possible. So I was playing around with this scene a few days ago and came up with this result that I was happy with, and yeah, I'm going to make a tutorial for you guys today, so let's get into it. First, open up a default scene in Blender, and we'll want to enable our landscape generator. So go to user preferences, add-ons, and then check Ant landscape right there. Alright, that's good. Now we can delete the default cube and shift A, add landscape. Let's make this window a little larger here. Alright, so we want the mountain to be very large, so we'll boost the mesh size up to about 100. And the noise size can go up to about 16 for now, and the height can go up to about 25. You won't see this though until you adjust the plateau above that number, so we'll just put the plateau up at like 50. So very tall mesh. And we'll change the fall off to be along the y-axis, so the mesh goes all the way up to the edge on the y and not along the x. So that's good. And I think the height might be a little too high, so we'll drop that down to 22 or something. Dimension and the other settings here. So try putting this one up to about 1.5, and this one maybe at 2.5. It's all personal opinion. Maybe you want to go lower with this number, 1.5. That makes it too high. 1.8. Alright, that looks pretty good. Alright, so once you're starting to see the shape you want, you'll want to boost your subdivisions up. I think my scene was about 250. That's not exactly low poly, but it can be whatever you want. Just trying to keep as much detail while as keeping as low poly as possible. So, and then once you get in the mountain landscape you like, but it's not quite there, you can play with the random seed until you find one that you're happy with. So I'm just going to cycle through these a little bit here till I find one that meets my heart's desire. Yeah, so I mean any of these would work. It's all personal opinion. But alright, I kinda like that one. I think I'll go with that one. So yeah. After you are happy with your mesh, you can deselect it, but I'll warn you that will get rid of all of your settings here, so there's no going back. Once you're happy with it, you stay with it, because there's no tweaking it later. So now that I'm happy with this, I'll close my toolbar, and that's it for our main mesh. Now that we got our landscape set up, why don't we arrange the camera and sun lamp for the scene. So for the camera, to place it along the front view, you can just go Alt Control 0 and it'll snap it to that. But you can see it is not showing the whole mesh. So we're gonna have to go to our camera settings and adjust the clipping. We'll just put that at about 1000, so we have our whole mesh in the scene. And then we're also gonna want to change the focal length to be about maybe 120, just so it's kind of like a zoomed in camera lens from a distance. So go to the top view then and pull your camera back a ways, a little more, till you get the whole scene in there. Alright, now we can tweak it from in camera view, just grabbing, zooming out, grabbing. Something like that. We're gonna have a lake here too, so you're gonna wanna be ready for the reflections, because that's cool. So I'll leave some room at the bottom of your scene. So yeah, that looks pretty good. So now we'll grab our lamp. Just grab our lamp there and pull it up. Change it to first we're gonna want to change from Blender render to cycles render. I'm gonna be running this with cycles. And click use nodes. Change it to sun lamp. I'm gonna change the strength. We can go up to hang on. in here. We can go up to about 8. That's what I did in my scene, just checking. So go up to about 8, and then you want to change the size of the ray shadows down to about 0.02, so that that will make them a little bit sharper, like a lower sun. So, and then you also want to give it a little bit of a reddish, orangish tinge, like it's a late day. Alright, and then we'll just jump into rendered viewport and rotate the camera around until we get the shadows we like. So, well, why don't we first go to top view and kind of rotate it, just hitting double tap R, and you can have a free rotation there. So we can go to front view, rotate like so, go to top view, rotate like so. Alright, so that doesn't look too bad. And then we can go back to rendered and make sure we're getting the shadows we like. I think that's a little bit too much sun, so I think I'll rotate it along the Z, just getting more shadows in there, like so. Maybe rotate it along the Y a little bit, just not too much. Rotate on the X, just finding the shadows you like. I think that looks pretty good. We might tweak it later once we add our trees and such, but that'll work for now. So, okay, let's go to that. Alright, so let's start getting our trees set up. So, let's add the pine trees. For the pine trees, we're going to be using some textures that I actually created myself, so I'll create a link in the description for you guys so you can download those. But yeah, first I'm going to go to user preferences, add-ons, and enable the import images as planes add-on. So do that, and then I'm going to switch to new render layer, or just not render layer but layer. Shift C to snap your cursor to the center, and here, why don't I quick turn on screencast keys again for you guys so you can see what I'm doing. Alright, so import images as planes, and Snow Pine Tree 1 we'll go with first. Okay, so you can see it's really small, but scale it up. And if you're under textured viewport, you can see your textures already on there. If you're wondering why it's messed up like that, it's because we haven't checked pre-multiply yet. So you can go to your UV image editor and open the small pine tree, not that one, this one, and pre-multiply. So now you can see it looks clean. So in front view, we'll just rotate 90 degrees along the x-axis and tab to edit mode and pull it up so it's resting on the origin point there. Okay, so that looks pretty good, a little big, but alright, so tab back in edit mode, and to give it some 3D dimension look, I'm going to just shift D, rotate 90 degrees along the Z, so you can see you kind of have a 3D-ish looking tree now. That's just very low poly. You can add a little bit of variation by just kind of pulling the vertices around here, giving a little bit of twist maybe, just so it doesn't look too square and flat. So just pull these vertices around a little bit, like so. But yeah, that looks pretty good. Alright, so might be a little too much. Okay, that looks pretty good for our one pine tree. Why don't we just pull that in a little bit there maybe, and just move that over now, and we'll shift C, add in our next pine tree. So add Snow Pine 2, scale that one up again as well, not that much. Rotate 90 degrees along the X. Whoop, this one's upside down. Rotate 180. Whoop, I'm sorry, I just switched over to my other scene, but okay, rotate 180. And tab to edit mode, drag it up along the origin to the origin point there. Alright, and we'll want to check pre-multiply on this one as well, so go to your UV image editor and select Pine 2, hit N, multiply. Okay. Now we can, in front view, tab in edit mode, Shift D, and rotate it 90 degrees along the Z axis again. So we have another pine tree there, and maybe just add a little bit of variation to this one as well. Just trying to keep it not looking too even and more natural, but alright, so we have 2 pine trees there. Now you can make as many as you want by duplicating them and changing them or getting new textures and adding a lot more, and that will make it look a lot better. But for this tutorial I'm just going to go with 2. So now that we have these 2, we can make a group out of them by selecting both of them, go and Control G, and now name that group Pines. Okay, so there's our pine trees. Now let's add them to our mesh. So first we're going to have to add a vertex group to determine where we want the pine trees placed across our landscape. So go to our object data tab and add a new vertex group. Name it Pines, and switch from object mode over to weight paint, and hit T to bring up our tools. I'm sorry, weight paint. Come on. Switch. Okay, you have to select your mesh first and go weight paint. And we don't want 100% strength, just drop that down to around 0.4. You can hit F to make your brush larger. And now just start painting where you want your pine trees. So I want a little grove of them over here. So adding in it more dense over there. Now you don't want to add pine trees like along the sides here, because you rarely see pine trees growing out of mountains like that. Just along the crevices mostly. So we can just kind of hand paint around the shallower, more flat lands where we want our pine trees. So just along the crevices here and stuff. So that looks pretty good. Just along front then. Something like that. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit more back here and down in there. Alright. So yeah, this is just wherever you want pine trees, paint them in. Okay, I think that looks pretty good though. So we'll save that, go up and object mode, save. And yeah, let's go into our particle tab now and add a new particle system. And we'll make this type hair, and check advanced. Scroll down to group and make that our pines group, and then scroll down to vertex groups and make that our pines group as well. So now you can see they're being placed right where we assigned them, but you can tell that they're kind of coming out of the side of the mesh like that, and that doesn't look very realistic. So check rotation and set that to be the global Z, and now put them all pointing straight up, and then you can add a little bit of random so they aren't perfectly straight up, but something like that. So that looks pretty decent. And let's add some random size. We'll make that about 0.6, just so they're not all the same size. That looks pretty good. I think we can make them a little bit larger too, so make it 0.06. I think that looks pretty good. Alright, so we can add a little bit of random here as well, and here as well. But yeah, that looks pretty good. So let's get on to a little bit more random there. Alright, so let's add the snow to the mountain, and actually we won't be using just textures for the snow, but we'll be doing some modeling. So first let's hide our particle system. Now what I did for this is I actually duplicated the mesh, so Shift D, duplicate it, and just bring it down slightly so it's underneath. Now we'll name that mesh we'll name that mesh right here. We'll name this one Snow Landscape. So this one's our snow, and we can just go to sculpt mode now and turn the strength up a little bit. You don't want too big of a brush, but now you can just go and to make it easier, if we change our land mesh material, just add a basic material for now and change the color, or the viewport color, down to be a darker black. We can select our snow mesh underneath now, go into sculpt mode, and just start sculpting our snow on top of it. And this is actually really easy and allows you to be very creative. But you can see just by adding and drawing, I'm placing snow. So you want to mostly cover the peaks of the mountains with snow, and kind of just paint like you would imagine snow might be, you know, landing on these mountains. And so yeah, just it's a pretty easy method I found, and it's quite fun. Just adding snow however you desire. So yeah, just kind of making it look as realistic as possible and keeping it as detailed as possible. So the flat areas like this, you can imagine not much snow lands, so those are the kind of areas you don't want to add the snow onto. But the peaks and the level areas is where you get the most snow. So you kind of want to just have the snow like running along, you know, higher grounds, and keeping the these areas where it's more sheer clear. And then so you want to also add snow along the base here, because whoops, you can see if you make your mesh too big along the edge, you'll get that. But so along the base here, you want to just add snow. That might be easiest to just do in edit mode later, so we'll just do that. But for the peaks, we can sculpt our snow in. So just adding the snow like so, however you desire. You might want to make your window a little bit larger so it's a little bit detailed. So yeah, I found this method to work actually quite well, and for a low poly scene like this, you can add as much detail you want. And then you can also, once you have your snow placed like that, you can come back and pinch it like it was drifting, so there's kind of sharp edges on it. So I'll show you how to do that in a little bit, but right now we're just adding snow. You can zoom in close to get more, you know, detailed looks to it, but just kind of like so. Go to camera view, see what it's looking like. You see it's looking pretty good. And just zoom in and add the snow however you want. So sculpting a little bit here, sculpting a little bit there, and along this mountain here too. So add some up there, coming down along the sides and along that ridge there, in that gap there. A little time consuming, but it's quite fun, so I think you guys will find it pretty enjoyable. And yeah, just zoom in every once in a while and add some more detail. This isn't really important because I'll be adding a displacement modifier to the snow, and that will give you a lot more finer detail and randomness. But yeah, so I mean, you can do as much of this as you want, keeping it, like I said, more dense in the lower areas here, and just sculpting it in. Might have to come back and smooth out some areas if they get too deep and whatnot, but yeah, so a little bit more up there, a little bit more up there. Every once in a while you want to check back in camera view and make sure it's looking decent. Do a little bit of sculpting in there. And kind of have it like coming down the mountain just not in the steep areas. So something like so. Then along this crevice, I imagine it'd be pretty full of snow. I'm gonna go to top viewport and fill that crevice in with more snow. Okay, that's almost done. A little more around there. A little more along there. And so yeah, that's the rough mountain peak snow. You can now go to pinch it and kind of pinch the make your brush a little bit bigger, holding F down. Kind of pinch like where it might be drifting. If you've ever seen mountains and drifting, you can know that you'll get those sharper areas where the snow drifts over the edge. So I figured looked more realistic, adding some of that. So just a little bit of pinching along some of these drifts, along there, a little more down there, and then along here maybe, like that. All right, so yeah, that's kind of getting there. We can switch back to our brush and add a little bit more snow in there. Okay, so that doesn't look too bad. Why don't we go to edit mode and enable proportional editing, and just grab the snow vertice length there and pull it up, and then scroll your proportional editing so you get more snow coming up, like so. Just so you get full snow at the bottom of the mountain here, and yeah, like that. Okay, go back to object mode. Alright, that looks pretty good. You might want to smooth out those bumps a little bit, but okay, let's add some more detail now by adding a displacement modifier. So add a displacement modifier, and we're gonna add a texture to it. So just a clouds texture. You can see already you're getting a lot more detail in there. I'm gonna tweak the settings a little bit, add some depth to it maybe, change the size a little bit, maybe go 0.2. It's all in what you think looks good. Okay, and then maybe we should turn the strength down a little bit. So turn the strength down to 0.5, but you can change the mid-level just up a little bit so you get a little bit more snow in there. I think maybe a 0.45 might be good. Alright, so you can see you're getting some, displacement like rocks in there. We might want to jump back to sculpt mode and smooth. Select where's smooth, right there, smooth, and lower some of these bumps down here. Go to top view. These bumps I added by accident here. So but you can see that that displacement adds a lot of detail to your snow. Alright, so that looks pretty good. And yeah, why don't we add one more displacement modifier and add modifier displacement. And why don't we create one more texture, and we'll make this one larger, so we'll go 0.4 and jump to modifiers, and wait, I think I just make this one texture 2 and that one's texture 1. Okay, so turn the strength down. Wait a minute, which one is this? This one's texture 2 too, so change that one to texture 1 and change this one to texture 2. If you go to your texture panel, texture 1 is the small, texture 2 is the big. Alright, so yeah, that looks pretty good. You might want to be getting that little snow in the crevices there and stuff. I think it might be a little bit too strong, but that can be I think it's pretty good. Maybe a little too strong. Turn the strength down to 0.4. Nah, keep that at 0.5. Turn the strength down this one to 0.1. No, not that one either. see, plan out what this does. Okay, this one can go down to like a 0.3, but why don't we adjust the mid-level again, just so we're getting a little more detail coming through. 0.35. You can see you get more snow popping through there. But alright, that looks okay for now. You guys can tweak it, but I'm running out of time on this, so alright, I'm gonna leave the snow like that, and we can start adding materials and the lake. So for the lake, it's just a flat plane. So we'll start off by Shift C, add our cursor to the center, and Shift add a plane that will scale up to be very large. You want to make sure that the plane comes all the way out past the camera, and then also underneath the like that. That looks pretty good. And then we just want to raise it up enough so it's like, so you can get a little bit of water, you know, ice maybe in there. So that looks pretty decent. Okay, so that's our lake. You might want to raise your camera up a little bit along the Z now. Just a little bit. But okay, that looks pretty good. Now let's get into some materials for the oh, another thing I didn't mention is on the displacement. If you change the direction to the Z, you can get some just so like the snow isn't affecting the peaks, but more not the edges so much, but the up and down, because you can imagine the snow probably fell from the, you know, down. So you can just tweak that a little bit. It's just personal preference, but I think it looked a little bit more realistic to do that. So okay, yeah. So let's start by adding the textures to the rock. So split my window and make this one a node editor. Now for the texture on the rock mountain, I actually combined two textures, two CG textures for this. I used sorry about that. I used that's the snow. The snow can just be a basic texture. That's all the snow is really. It's just a white texture, and it ended up looking fine. So that's what I left it at. But for the rocks, I added a bit more detail too. I have to unwrap it first, so you have to go to top view, tab to edit mode, you unwrap. This might take a little while because it's a big mesh, you know, lots of detail and stuff. So on my computer at least it takes a while, but let that load. A little while, but it finally unwrapped. So yeah, let's first Shift add a texture. This is a CG texture again that I got. I'll show you the name in a second. Blender CG textures. The first one I used, I believe, is this one, Rock Layered 35. Okay, and duplicate that one, and we're gonna add another one. Why don't we go back to object mode there? And this one was more of a white snow. It might have been, I think it was a quartz, actually, a quartz rock. Yeah, this one right here, quartz rock. Okay. So yeah, we have to quick add a mapping node, so we can right there, mapping node, so we can multiply this one and have it repeat a lot. So to do that, just change the scale way up on it, so I'll make it like 500, and make these like let's make them all 500 for now, see how it looks. Alright, and connect that up to there, and then also we're gonna have to add a texture coordinate node right there. it use the UV. Make sure it uses the UV. Alright. Alright, so now we're going to add just a whoop, hang on a sec. We can just duplicate these up to here and use them for that texture too. I'm thinking 500 is going to be way too big. Why don't we just drop that down to 100 for now? Should have done that before I duplicated it, but that's okay. Just 100, 100, and 100. Alright, so now we're going to use a mix node to add these two textures together. So mix those two. And to make this one darker rock, I thought it wasn't dark enough. I also added a mix node to this one and made this just a black texture and put this at like a 0.2 or something, 0.3 maybe, just 0.3. Okay, so we can zoom in here and see what it's looking like if we jump over to rendered viewport and connect this up to the diffuse shader. Oh, that didn't work. Connect again. Oh, still not connected. There we go. Okay, so now we have to add a color ramp, because right now it's not being mixed evenly, it's just a blend of the two, but I want it to be a sharp edge between the lighter color and the darker color. So we're going to add a color ramp to, we'll just add it in there and hook that up as the factor to the mix. Okay, so once you've done that, you can just adjust the color ramp here to be something like that, and you can start seeing, if I let this go a little bit, that you're getting a mixture of the two, but that looks like I have it mapped across too many times, so I think I'll just drop that one down to 50, 50. And it also looks like it was stretched a little bit, so I think I'll make the Y axis just 25 to try and get rid of some of that stretching, and drop that one down to 50 too. Okay, so I'll zoom in closer on that so you can see what it's looking like. Yeah, and that's looking pretty good. It looks like it's still a little stretched, but you shouldn't notice that from camera view. So I'll zoom in up here and check it out. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. You can tweak the color ramp however you want. You get different more amounts of snow or less amounts of snow, but I think I like that, so I'm gonna stay with that. And I might want to make the dark a little bit darker as well. So I'll boost that up the other direction. A little darker. Okay, that looks pretty good. And also I'll add a little bit of bump mapping to it by adding a color mix node and grabbing the color of the mountain here. Just grab the after it's mixed, mixing it with white one and changing it to multiply and hooking it up to the displacement, and then we can have some bump mapping just to make it add a little more realism to it. Turn that down to like a 0.2, but that should add some more realism to it. Okay, so that's the texturing for the mountain, and I'll move on. Alright, so why don't we load our HDR image now? So this can be found online, so just go search in your search engine for free HDR images. Top link there. Now the HDR image I used is at the bottom. Just let it load thumbnails real quick. Okay, and yeah, the image I used is at the bottom here. It's actually a river, Hudson River, image, but download that. I found this one worked best because it's just a horizon with clouds and water, so it ended up looking good. So yeah, download that and jump back over to Blender. We can go to our world settings, check use nodes, and grab an environment texture and open. And this one is right here, right there. So let it load that in real quick. We can wait for that to start looking. And you can see it's you get that blue tint from the sky reflecting in the shadows, and that looks really good. But it's a little bit too powerful for more of a late afternoon scene, so I'm gonna drop it down to like 0.6. Now also, let me give a little more room here. What you want to do is zoom out. You can see that you're getting the wrong spot of the texture here, so you want to select everything. So switch into solid view, make sure you select everything, then go back into rendered viewport, let it load, and okay, now you just want to rotate around the Z until you get that that water. Whoop, I'm sorry, I deselected. Okay, select everything, rotate along the Z. Oh, shoot, doing it again. Here, why don't I go back to solid view and rotate along the Z. How come it's... Oh, it's working. Alright, let's try that again. Rendered viewport. And let that load. Okay, rotate around the Z. Okay, now it's working. It's just taking a little bit of time to update. You just want to rotate around until you get to the lake part of the image. And yeah, position it where you can see just the distant mountains. That'll look the best. Something like that. Now I have my camera a little bit too high for you see too much of the mountains, I think. So select your camera and grab it along the Z, just lowering that horizon there till you're happy with it. And then you can rotate along the x-axis and position that back up like that. I want to zoom out a little bit more and get a little bit more of the mountains in there too. So something like that. Alright, so now you can see it looks a lot better with the HDR map in there, adding the blue sky to the shadows. And yeah, it's looking pretty good. It looks like my rock texture might be a little bit large now, actually. So grab that texture and you can just bump up the scale to maybe 75, 75, 50, 50, 75, 75. Okay, yeah, that gives you a little bit more detail in the mountain. I think that looks better. Okay, so that's our HDR map. Now for the water, we're going to be adding a new material and make this a glass material. And we'll be adding a displacement then to that. But for now, we can change the IOR value to 1.333, which is water. And give it just a tiny bit of roughness, so 0.0008 or so. Just so you have a little bit of a blurry reflection, but it looks cool when you have a lot of reflection. So I'm gonna go with that. And now, yeah, in our node editor here, we can select the glass material. It's right here. We'll just drag this out, and so Shift A, add a texture, wave texture. So we'll turn the scale up on this to be around 50, and we don't want any detail because that doesn't look so great, I found. So you can just turn those both to 0 and leave that one on 1. And you want some distortion though, so turn the distortion up and let that load a little bit and see what that looks like. I need more distortion. I'm gonna go 18. Okay, you can't see what it looks like because we haven't plugged anything into the displacement. Okay, so grab that into the displacement, and you can see our very harsh waves starting to show up. But you can just kind of see what they're gonna be looking like. That's looking okay. Why don't we add a mix node in there? Hook that up at bottom. Make that completely white, and we can turn that down a little bit. What I also found looked well is when I added another texture, this one a noise texture, and you can again turn the detail off on this and turn the scale up to about 50. And a noise texture and a color ramp, and hook those up. And then we'll use this as a factor for the mix here, and then sharpen up that, and you can see that you get a lot less waves, just kind of like little areas of waves where it might be you know, might be touching you know, catching a breeze or something, but not the whole lake. I found that looked a lot better. But now we'll also have to duplicate this mix node and turn the amount down again to like a 0.2 or something, and let that load. Still looks too harsh. Why don't we go 0.04? And why don't we play with this color ramp a little bit more, and just kind of, I think we can turn the displacement down a little more still, 0.02. But yeah, just something like that. It's looking pretty decent, I think. This can be tweaked as much as you want, but let it load a little bit. It still looks a little bit harsh. Oh, I'm sorry. You have to change this to multiply. Okay. Now it's... Alright, so I'm sorry, I had this hooked up wrong. You want to pop that in the bottom. That's why the displacement was looking so harsh. And now I think I can boost this back up to 0.06 or something, so we can see those waves again. Alright, that's looking better, I think. Yeah, now you can just see it's a slight bit of waves across the lake, just adding a little bit of detail to that, and it looks a lot better. Alright, so I think that's looking pretty good there. You know, why don't we try adding a little bit of detail to the wave? I think that might look good, actually. So I'll just go 5 and 0.05. I think I actually did that in my final render. Yeah, so. Alright, that's looking pretty good. You can see the slight waves across there and everything. Alright, so that looks pretty good for that. What I also did in my render is I added a bottom to the lake just to make the reflections look better. So when I do that now, I'll switch out of rendered viewport. Give myself a little more room here. And go to side view. Shift duplicate that and pull it down a little bit. And scale it along the X a bit. Okay, so now I'm going to tab into edit mode and subdivide this a few times. You can see, subdivide that a few times. Whoop, scale on the X. Whoop, top view. Oh, yeah, okay, you gotta be careful because after you rotate your scene for the HDR image, you can't scale along the X and Y's anymore. So, unless you, I think you can change this to local, and then I can scale on the X. Alright. Oh, no. I can move it along the X though. Alright, but that should be good. Subdivide one more time. And you want to grab this row of vertices and keep it keep it right along the shoreline. So pull that one up so it's right along there. And then I just kind of took these, and you can use proportional editing, but just grab that back vertice with proportional editing, hit O to enable that, and just kind of pull it like it's getting deeper, maybe out like that. So then so that's kind of like a river bottom you see there. And I added a texture to this too, so you can go top view, tab, unwrap, and why don't we add a new material to this one? So add a new material, and we can delete the material on that one. Alright, let's save our project first. Alright, so this was just a basic texture I added. It can really be whatever you want, but I used a CG texture bark right there, bark 107. I found this one just looked kind of grungy and worked well for being at the, you know, what you might imagine the bottom of a lake being that time of year. So I'm gonna add that, and then another mapping node, hook the mapping node up, and make this like 15, 15, 15, and then another texture coordinate, and hook the UV up to that. Alright, so that should look a little bit better reflections wise. So let's look at that again and render. And yeah, you can see that looks a little bit better, I think. I might want to rotate my lamp a little bit, so select your lamp. I'm not getting a whole lot of shadows in there, so rotate along the X. Now that you have your materials, you can kind of get a little bit more of what you might want. Just getting a little more shadows like that, and making it a little bit redder too, maybe yellowish, like an afternoon, late evening sun might be. Something like that. Okay, I think that's looking pretty good. All right, so let's add materials to our pine trees now. So save that and go back to solid. Now go to our run layer with the pine trees. Now for these, all you have to do is you already have your texture and stuff. We just have to add a new shader, make this a transparent one, and add a mix shader, I believe, and mix the transparent with the diffuse using the alpha as the factor. So if we go to rendered viewport, that load, you can see our pine tree is alpha mapped. So that looks good. Do the same for this one. Add a transparent shader and add a mix shader, like so. Hook the transparent up to the top one and the alpha as the factor. Alright, so that's our pine trees. Let's save it and see what our scene is looking like now. Go 0 to camera view, select your mountain, and turn back on the particle system that we had turned off earlier. And let's see what it's looking like. Alright, so a few things. I think our pine trees are a little small, so why don't we boost those up to 0.08 maybe. And the scene's looking a little bit dull. I think I might want to select, go into solid view, select everything again, go back to rendered, and rotate it to a little bit different spot on the HDR map. So rotate along the Z. I'm gonna go to the left a little bit. Just, this is a little slow moving doing this, but just so I don't get those boats in it, but something like that might be a little better. I don't know how much that actually changed. Go to a little bit more along the Z. A little more. Okay, we'll go right there. And the sun lamp looked a little bit dull. Maybe add a little bit more red to it. Okay. And also I think I'm gonna rotate it a little bit again. Oh, so you get like no sun there. You get a little more sun there. I think I'll go with that. Alright, so let's see how that's looking. Alright, so that's looking pretty decent. I want to tweak the snow displacement a little bit. So go to your modifiers on the snow, and I'm going to change the mid-level to 0.4 and maybe a little bit more, 0.35. And let's go down to 0.3 on this one too, just so I get a little bit more snow in the mountains there. Maybe drop this one down to 0.3 too. Okay, so that's looking a little bit better. Maybe you go 0.25 on this one. You get a little bit more snow in there. And I think I might be able to change the strength up a little bit as well. So I'll go 0.4. Okay. And 0.4 on that one too. Alright, so that's looking a little better. I think I can change the mid-level back to 0.3 on this one. Okay, so yeah, just a little bit of tweaking, but that's looking pretty good. Why don't we move along? So let's add the snowflakes that I had in my scene. We'll go to layer 3 and go top view, shift C to snap the cursor to the center. Alright, and for this I'm gonna add a circle. Well, hit T to go to toolbars and just make it very small. I'll go down to 7, I think. And fill, we'll go triangle fan. Okay, so we got our little flake there. Now to give this a little bit of a three-dimensional look, I'll shift D, rotate 90 degrees on the X or Y, and maybe rotate around the Z a little bit, and then yeah, just kind of using proportional editing. I'll kind of just distort this snowflake a little bit, just to try and we can join these together, and just kind of distort this snowflake a little bit, just to give a little bit of 3D look, and shade smooth as well, but. Okay, so something like that will be fine. And we can just duplicate that and change this one to be a little bit different looking. Trying to make it random and unique. But something like, I don't know, kind of a crazy looking snowflake, but it should look fine. Ugh. The weirdest snowflake I ever saw. Something like that would be fine. Okay. So for the material on these, we'll just add new material and mix the diffuse with a we'll add another shader. We'll add a translucent shader shader, and we'll add a mix shader. No, not mix. We'll add a add shader, and put both those in there. Connect that up, and let's jump to rendered viewport and see what that looks like. Yeah, so that looks pretty good for a snowflake, I think. Yeah, so we'll just go with that. So we can why don't we Control L, select that one, Control L, make links materials. No, the opposite. Control L, make links materials. Okay, so they have the same material now. So now back into our mountain scene. We can jump to camera view and put the cursor just above the camera. We don't have to have snowflakes covering the whole scene. That would be way too many snowflakes. Just to fake the illusion, we're gonna add a add just over the camera. So Shift add a plane, pull it down closer and scale it up so it's just above your view there, something like that. And we'll add our particle system. This one's gonna be an emitter, and you want to start them falling about 35 frames before, or minus 35 frames, so they're already falling at frame 1. And you can take out all, you go to field weights, take out all the gravity, so they're actually shooting up because of the emitter, but we're going to make this -1. And then we'll also add an emission on the z-axis. We'll go -4. So why don't we just let's hide our mountain back there for now, just so this runs faster. So we'll test that. Okay, they're not falling fast enough, so I don't think we need any emitter geometry. We can just take that out. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. You can see you got snowflakes falling from the sky. Now let's change that to render the group of, oh, forgot to make a group. So go back to layer 3, select both those, Control G, and we'll just name this group Snowflakes. Okay, and change the group here to Snowflakes. Okay, you can see our snowflakes are showing up there, and those are kind of big. You might want to go up and move away from the camera a little bit. Scale up our plane a bit, like so, and kind of rotate it so it's kind of diamond shaped to the camera like that. Alright, and make the size a lot smaller, so we'll go 0.02 and add a bunch of random size to that too, so go all random. Let's see what that's looking like. I think we made it too big. Let's scale it down a little bit, move it over like so. Alright, let's see what that's looking like. Okay, that's working. Now, to get the best looking falling snow, you want to change the brown, whatever that's called, and we'll just go up to like 4 on that, and that'll give it the best random fall speed. Why don't we go 6 on that? Okay, and then why don't we also add some random up here to the emission. Okay, so they're not falling at the same speed. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. And now we just have to, why don't we put the start and end just to 100 for the sake of this tutorial, and at 100, and boost this up to like 10,000 or something huge. just so you get enough snowflakes like that. And maybe we can move it a little closer to the camera. So, something like that. Alright, so there you get your snowflakes. And in my final one I added some motion blur to those and stuff, but you might want to add a little bit more burrowing motion. Boost it up to 10 maybe. But yeah, for a still render that'll look fine. So why don't we unhide everything, and almost done here. That's our snowflakes. To wrap this up, I'll show you how I did the fog, and then we'll do a little bit of compositing. So for the fog, I had to use Blender Internal. So I wanted to save. You wanted to save your project and then save as, and we'll do this one as tutorial internal. Okay, so now you switch to Blender render on this one, and you want to just give these blank materials. Everything can just have delete the old and give it a blank material. Delete the old and give it a blank. And for the pine trees, we'll have to add a material to these so they have their alpha mask. So you can just turn off the specularity, check transparency, turn off the alpha, go to your texture panel and add a new texture. Image or movie. This one is Snow Pine 1. So we'll just select Snow Pine 1 small, have it go to your UV coordinates, and you can uncheck color and just check alpha. So you have the outline of that for the mist, and we'll have to create another one for this one. So delete that one, new, take out the specularity, transparency, no alpha, new texture, image or movie, UV, select number 2, and uncheck color, check alpha. Alright, so that will just give us the, if you go to textured viewport, our textures in Blender Internal. So, okay, make sure everything has a blank material. Doesn't really matter. Oh, that one has a material, so we'll just delete that one and add a blank one. And the snowflakes too, just delete the default and add a blank. Delete the default and add a blank. Okay, so now we're gonna go to, first we'll select the camera, go to top view, zoom out on our scene, on our very large scene, and display the mist. Okay, and now under the world settings we can check mist there and decide where we want the mist to start and end. So I want the mist to start probably around 30, and I want it to I want the depth of it, this is where it ends, to be 150. And then you have to change the minimum, I think it is. No, you don't change the minimum, you change the, yeah, I think you change the minimum. You can make this like 60. No, forget the minimum. You don't change the minimum. You change the start. We want to push that out to be probably about 120. Nope, more. 250. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now, yeah, so you want to actually uncheck mist because we're going to check it under the render layers. We're going to check mist. Okay, so now under Blender Internal, you just want to render your scene once. So hit render and let this render out your scene real quick. You'll see it looks absolutely horrible, but that's okay because we're just using the mist past. So let that go. Alright, now jump to the compositor and check use nodes, and we want to just shift add a viewer node, so you can see. We want to just look at the mist and check backdrop, and make that bigger. And you can see we have our mist value there with the depth to it, and we can tweak that later on, but for now we're just going to save this image out. So go yeah, you have it hooked up. You want to check the mist to the composite too, and then under your render result here, we'll just save that image out as mist. Okay, now we can go back to our cycles version of this scene, and I'm gonna render this out. I'll pause the recording as this renders, and change the samples up to 100. And I'll pause the recording and come back to you when we have this rendered. So I'll see you in a bit. Alright, you can see I messed up on these snowflakes, so let's quick fix those. So jump to our snowflake here, and over here in the node editor, I don't want to use the add shader, and I don't want to use translucent. I'm just going to add a mix shader and a transparent shader, just so they're not solid, and we'll just pop those two in there and mix them, and let's see what that looks like. Just run the rendered viewport here. Okay, those look a little better. What I actually did in my final render is swap these around. I added a texture, a noise texture, and popped the scale up to 15, and the detail I dropped down to like a 0.5 or so, and I added a color ramp to that, and added this as the mix factor. So you can see if I go into rendered now, this kind of added detail to the snowflakes. I don't even know if it's noticeable, and you have to add more solid to it. Taking the whites in a bit. I don't even know if it was noticeable, but you can see that you kind of get that cool look. Oh, I actually mixed. Let me change that. I remember now. I mixed a translucent with a transparent. Okay. So you can see now that you kind of get that that look of, you know, solid and not solid. And I don't know if that actually adds a lot of detail or not. It was kind of hard to notice, but I think I'll go with that. Change the color. I'll wrap it what it already is on both those. But yeah, I think I'll just leave it at that because that's what worked for me. So yeah, and then one more thing while I'm thinking about it before we do our final render, we can change it back to solid view. Is why don't we go to our render layers here and add the vector, so we can add some motion blur to those. Actually, we have to add another render layer. Uncheck that. Add another render layer. Make this one snow, and have vector in that one. And select just. Why don't we move our snow to another layer? Move to the bottom layer. Move our snow to another layer, and have this one just be that layer, and this one just be that layer. Alright, and this one we want vector checked. Okay. Alright, so let's select both our layers now, and we want our sun on both of them too. So we'll go hit M to move and hold Shift and click there. So now the sun is on both of them. You can see. Alright, so let's render our final scene. scene. Save it and render. Alright, one other thing. Sorry for constantly interrupting you, but I wanted to add some depth of field to the camera. So to do this, you want to turn limits on and distance. I'll start with just going 80, and we'll see. Go to top view. You can see this line is the focal length. So that's pretty far back. So why don't we go up to 180, 380. This scene could be done on a smaller scale as well. Mine wasn't actually this big, but I'm not going to bother changing it right now because I already set up the fog and whatnot. But okay, you can see the line right there. Seems like 310. 310 looks pretty good. Alright, so now for the f-stop, change it to f-stop. We'll make this 5.7 might be okay. Maybe we'll just go down to 3 or 4. And we'll just give it 6 blades and give it a little bit of rotation too. Alright, so that's the focus for that. And then also one other thing I messed up on is under render layers, the snow layer, you do not want to render the sky on this layer. So uncheck use environment right there, and that will alright, let's also make the pine trees a little bit a little fewer. I think there's too many pine trees right now. So go to your particle system and just drop that down to 800. Okay, that looks a little better. And why don't we just grab our snow mesh right there, and move it up ever so slightly. So holding shift down, you can be more slight about it and get just a little bit more snow in there. Yeah, like that. Okay, that looks better. Now we can do our final render. This time for certain. Right, our render has finished, so let's go over to the compositor and check use nodes and backdrop. And alright, we'll add input viewer node or output viewer node and connect that up with the render. And make that bigger. Alt V does that. Okay, and before we actually do any compositing, what I found playing around a little bit was under the scene settings, color management, I changed mine to RRT, and then just played around with the gamma a little bit. Set this to like 1.7 to brighten it up a little bit, and found that just gave it some cooler coloring. I also used curves and did just a little bit of coloring like that. But so yeah, this is a fairly new feature that I found fun to play around with. But yeah, so just play around with that a little bit, but it looks pretty good. So yeah, let's start by adding the snow to the scene, because we can duplicate this render layer. We rendered that out in 2 layers. So select the snow layer, and we can start by adding the blur to the snow. So also add a filter and vector blur. Let's quick save the scene while I think about it. And hook up the image, the Z, and the speed all up, and let's go to a viewer node so we can see what we get in. And that's too much blur, so turn the blur down a bit to 0.1. You can also check curved, that'll look better. That's a little too little. We'll go 0.2, just so you can get a little bit of blur. That looks pretty good. I mean, 8.25. You don't want too much blur, but that looks pretty good. Alright. So, to mix these now, we'll just add a color mix, switch it to add, and put those like so, and into the viewer node, like that. Now, you might want to turn up the factor so you can see the snow a little bit better. Alright, you can start to see it come through there. If I turn up way up, you can see it better, even up here and stuff. But and then also, because we didn't have the environment set, I thought it looked good to add a color balance node and just give it a little bit of a blue look. You can see that adds to it a little bit. But yeah, okay. Maybe brighten them up a little bit too by raising those values up a little bit. But yeah, that looks good. I mean, you don't want the snow to be too strong, but just as a little, you can lower this back down to 1.5. Okay, so that's the snow. Why don't we add the mist to it now? So we want to add input image and open up that mist image we saved out. Okay, sorry if you can hear the phone in the background, just don't mind that. Shift add mix node for this, and we want to mix this image with a slightly blue color with a factor of this image. So if you this is very strong right now, so we're gonna be turning this down, but you can see what I'm going for. We probably could have turned off the snow in our Blender internal version, but yeah, that's okay. So I think if we just you want to add a color ramp under converter, color ramp to that right there, so we can control the mist now with this color ramp. So turning up the blacks will just let that load, give us more mist, I guess, and turning this down will give us less. So you kind of want to just find what looks good for the overall image. Kind of getting fadey back there, you know, but you also want some along the shoreline. So pull it forward a little bit. Something around there looks okay, and then we just want to duplicate this mix node and mix it with the unmixed, so we can turn the factor down even more here by going down to just like a 0.3, or maybe a little more. So yeah, we should have turned off the snow in our mist layer, so if you want to do that over, it would look better, but that doesn't look too bad. That's how you do mist with cycles at this point in time. I also then added a color balance to the whole scene just to get some more color variation. I darkened the mids a little bit and brightened these. No, I'm sorry, not that. I added some yellow. Whoops, that's a little too bright now. Okay, I'll just re-add that node there. Sorry about that. Color balance. Yeah. So to get some cool colors in there, I made this one a little bit yellow, and I made this one a little bit blue. So that just gives it a little bit more of a filmy kind of look, I thought. But yeah, you can see the snow here. If I zoom in here a little bit, I raised the snow up a little bit, so that looks a little weird. So let me quick I'll go over to default. You can see the snow along there. That looks kind of weird because I lifted it up a little bit above the water. So yeah, in these sections here, if we just select our snow, why don't we just Control I, hide everything else, and tab in edit mode, and just lower that down a little bit. Okay, that should get rid of that. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to switch over to my internal and get rid of the snow. I already get rid of the snow. And tweak the mist settings. So go back to the camera and turn mist on. And oh, it looks like I didn't save this. I'm gonna have to change these values again. But I didn't think I had the mist start soon enough. So I'm gonna change the depth to, wait, no, this just got messed up here, 250. Okay, so, and then we'll start at 200. And maybe change the depth down to 200 as well. Alright, that looks better. Okay, we'll render that out once. Yeah, so we just have to go to our render layers and check mist, and hook the mist up to the composite, and quick render that out. So this will just take a minute and should be good. Alright, now we got our mist the way it's supposed to be, and save that out again. And save our project, open recent, back to our tutorial. And voila. Yeah, just a little bit of tweaking with the color ramp here. Pull that in just to get something that looks decent. Pull that in. Yeah, kind of cut that back a little bit. So there's the mist, and you can tweak the color a little bit, but I think that's enough tweaking. So yeah, that's it, guys. You can add a vignette like I did by quickly adding a lens distortion node. Add a lens distort node right there. Add a converter math node. Switch it to greater than. Make the value, put the distort all the way up on the distort node. Make the value 0, and add a color filter blur. Switch it to fast Gaussian, relative. I got 15 by 15. Put that in there, and then shift add a color mix, multiply, and connect that with the original. And then you can control the amount of vignette using this factor value right here. So you can see that's a little too strong right now, so turn that down a little bit. But yeah, that's it, guys. I hope you learned something. Yeah, it's always a pleasure to see what you guys come up with. So please post your results in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye.